And hello, everybody. We are here on the channel, and tonight we are doing episode 3 of Let's Talk. And I'm super excited because we have an amazing panel today. So I'm going to go right down the line and get this thing rolling because everyone who's been waiting, I was a little bit behind as usual. So let's start with our special guest panelist right now, Mr. Odin.
Hello there. How is it going? I'm very glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
All right. So we have next Mr. Prime. Go ahead and tell us about yourself here.
I'm just Prime Geek Collectors, PrimeGeekCollectors.com. We also have a Twitter and Facebook page. You can find us at Prime Geeks or Prime Geek Collectors Facebook. We're a pop culture news and collectible website. It brings new information on everything from hot toys to news on movies, which I'm pretty sure Odin's pretty fascinated that I'm probably going to use his reviews soon for our website. So
nice.
All right, we've got some good community cross promoting going on. Look at that. I'm being inclusive. So I'm super proud of myself. And also we have a man who I have been dying to get on here because I promised you now for like since we met to find
about 4 weeks now. Yeah.
About 4 weeks. Introduce yourself, dude.
All right. I'm actually going to do a name drop because I want to get my name, not, like my name out there, but it's so weird going by the geek. But hey, it's Mike, the geek in disguise. I know, so original, right? My channel focuses on movie news, box office talk, trailer reactions. It's just kind of a mashup right now, pretty standard fare, just trying to get off the ground. Can't say I've been doing too bad here, but been hanging out with this lovely group of gentlemen and women. Great community we found ourselves in, and it's an honor to meet Mr. Odin himself, the All-Father. Been a watcher for a long time. Find your stuff fascinating, dude.
Well, thank you. I'm just glad that you didn't abandon me today because of my comments in my video, because apparently some people didn't like them.
Wait, which comments?
I made a reference to Trump, and people didn't like that because I didn't praise him. Apparently, they didn't like that.
Hey, we're all a bunch of
to each their own, man.
I thought that's what the First Amendment was for. I mean, having an opinion.
Right.
I was just like, I've made it clear that I'm like an independent person. I voted for a dude named Evan McMullen that probably most people didn't even hear about.
Hey, that's what my buddy voted for.
Yeah,
Evan McMullen. That's like McLovin.
Well, I knew
for sure.
This was gonna be a great live stream and that we were all going to hit it off. I had a feeling. I just never knew we would all be bonding so quickly.
My favorite part about everything, though, and unfortunately, the reason why I voted that way is because I can't write in people. If I could write in people, oh man, Stan
Mickey
Lee,
Mouse,
Mickey Mouse, I would have gone.
Make America Groot again.
Groot, yes. To be honest, even though he's old as hell and he's not in the political game anymore, I'd just be like, Ron Paul, give it to him.
Like you saw this morning when you posted your thoughts on the Lion King trailer. I respectfully agree to disagree, man. Yeah. Not everybody's gonna think the same way.
That's true.
And that's what makes us, an amazing community.
And of course, you guys know I got to do my shameless plug. So it is the earth-breaking, ground-shaking, but never media show money-taking, the man, the myth, the legend, the most electrifying YouTuber in YouTube entertainment today, Lee Cole the Fourth. And welcome.
All right, Dwayne.
One day, Rock, I don't know how, but he's just going to accidentally come across me on the YouTube. He's not even going to sue me. He's just going to find me in person and rock bottom me and then tape it. So, he just strikes me as that kind of guy.
And you'll get up and you'll just be like, I'm not worthy.
Are you sure he's not going to sing that "Hey, You're Welcome" song to you as he does it?
Dude, if I got rock bottom, it'd be like the single greatest day of my life. But now let's bring the discussion into focus. I've got a really big one here because I knew this was going to be a great thing for us to sink our teeth into. The main debate tonight is the MCU versus the DCU.
Oh no!
Yes, we are diving right into this hornet's nest. We are going to do Captain Marvel versus Shazam, DC's tone and the direction.
I'm already conflicted.
I know.
Because I have Odin here, I included the top MCU films and their box office and what he feels like the box office is going to be between Shazam and Captain Marvel. Marvel going woke, and finally the X-Men franchise and how we feel the MCU is going to take that direction. Are they going to stay with the new continuity established, or are they going to go off and Marvelize it? So, those are my hopes and dreams. I don't know how much of it will reach. So let me dive right into my first talking point here. And I wanted to go through everyone here, everyone who watches my channel, and all of those who are going to tune into this. My favorite movie in the world, Captain Marvel versus the real Captain Marvel, Shazam. And I want to just get the thoughts and feelings of each of you guys on those respective films. We'll start with you, Mr. Odin. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think everyone knows, and I think everyone agrees that, Captain Marvel is the greatest film ever to be made. It's the greatest film in cinematic history. It is the first time that a woman has ever been the lead in any movie ever. And because of that historic reality, we just have to give the win to that movie. It's made $1 billion. And I don't know if you guys knew this, but did you know that making money means that you're a good movie? Because this is something that is, I think, very, very,
Oh, man.
I know, right? And so this whole time I thought to myself, 50 Shades of Grey must be bad. But now that I'm thinking about it, no, it made money. It has to be good. It has to be. It's made money. And that's the logic that's going on today. So, yes, my vote is Captain Marvel, greatest film of all time. Change my mind. Change my mind on that.
Prime. This is going to be great with your Batman. I almost thought you were Catwoman. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right, man. I am whatever you want me to be. I don't know how to say this, but I feel like Lifetime Movie Network has been trying so hard, and here comes Disney, and they're like, "Oh, okay, we'll show you."
So you're giving Lifetime for? Was that even an option?
I guess. I mean, have you seen Lifetime Movie Network? I mean, like, it's almost every single woman lead out there is now just like, oh, now we have a film that we can all go back and support ourselves all for $1 billion. Oh, gee. Honestly, with Captain Marvel, all I got to say is that I feel sorry for Pussy Galore because she was a badass at Goldfinger. She flew a plane, and no one gives a damn.
Okay, so that was definitely a choice. He just took Goldfinger. So Geek, what do you got?
All right, and what is this like? Just like what movie we choose over the other, or?
I think he's asking for your general opinion.
Oh, let's see. I mean, Captain Marvel, man. That's like Odin said, that's the
Damn
greatest
right.
of all time, dude.
Damn right.
She definitely put Supergirl in her place. Yeah, that movie didn't exist.
Don't forget Wonder Woman. She put her in her place too, apparently.
Right?
I mean, on paper, it made more money.
I think she rock bottomed like every female-led franchise in freaking history.
Better than Ripley, better than Wonder Woman, better than you name it. Any single
Rose
female
Tico.
character. Rose Tico, better than them all.
Oh man.
My vote was going to be Rose Tico. Damn.
Rose Wico.
Me and EVS share the same opinion. I have my Rose Tico shrine. I will fight him for the opportunity to have her hand in marriage. So, Anyways, I'm gonna go with I liked Shazam the most, obviously. And I've said this in my review, and the irony is I got attacked for being fair to it. I said Captain Marvel as a movie wasn't necessarily bad. It just wasn't necessarily good. It was a standard film with a lot of hype. And I pointed out the flaws and whatnot in it. My whole thing is just propping it up to be this great thing. And like Odin said, now with this $1 billion thing, and Odin, we are of the same opinion of Avatar. I do not like that film.
I'll say this much, because I'm just, obviously I'm just spitting the truth here. Avatar is actually a great film.
Yeah,
I've decided to come clean on this stream and just tell all the things that I actually believe. And so Avatar is the greatest film of all time. And giant blue Smurf people should run the planet. That's what I think.
Speaking of Smurfs, the Smurf film is the greatest film of all time.
Oh my God, man. Yes. That made money, right? If it made money, it must be good. I mean, that's the logic now, right?
No, I mean, I enjoyed Avatar for what it was. I mean, it was a popcorn flick, in my opinion. Just nothing more. Really no substance, just visual flair and just something you can tune out to for 2.5 hours and just enjoy a bucket of popcorn and walk away and say, hey, that was kind of a cool experience.
Hey, man, that was 2 hours of my life that, will always be there. Yeah, it'll always be there. 2.5 hours of my life. Yep.
Wait, Geek, did you say a bucket of popcorn, soda?
Yeah.
Right.
Or 5 or 6 sodas.
Yeah, most car dealerships give you that for free if you just look around at cars, right?
Oh, I know.
Okay, all right. We're not promoting criminal activity here on the channel. I would like to
No, that's not criminal. You can go to University Ford in North Carolina, and they give you free bags of popcorn.
Shoot, go to any state information center. They got free popcorn.
Yeah, exactly.
Tourist attractions. Hey, you might even get some free tickets to something.
Hey, go to the zoo. You get a bag of peanuts.
But no, if we're on the level of box office equates to quality, then man, Avatar is like the pinnacle, dude. There ain't no touching it. It's like the perfect. That's not even a 10. That's like a 20 out of 10, dude.
Yep. 2.7 billion. Can't touch it.
Nope.
All right, so we all know that's how I wanted to kick that off. I think we can all non-sarcastically agree. Shazam for the win. I want to get to the next subject of discussion, which is tones for each of the respective films. So I'll go down the line, and we'll start with the franchise I'm going to start following from now on, the DCU.
Zack Snyder didn't turn you off?
No, I actually I made a video about it, and I was like, you know what? I respect the man. People forget he did a lot of good movies. He has good direction, and the man lost a kid. And as a father, I can kind of understand how you would be like grrr to everyone, because I mean, that's a huge thing. So yeah, he's been attacked for how many months now? I would lose it too. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Ryan Johnson's definitely doubling down on that attack.
Somebody needs to check that dude's mental capacity, man. I like Zack Snyder, don't get me wrong. I think he's done some good movies, but I don't know. After reading what he wanted his Army of the Dead to be about, that's disturbing right there. Why would you want to make a whole movie about zombie men raping non-zombie women and impregnating them?
Wait, he said that?
Yep. I actually learned it when I found out Dave Bautista was cast. Netflix, when they resurrected the project, made him revise the script and rewrite it because that was the main focal point.
Are you sure Variety didn't get they misquoted James Gunn and just put his name behind it?
Well, probably not, considering, Zack Snyder's thoughts on Batman and rape in prison in his movie. He's like, that would be a thing. I'm like, man.
Wow. And this has come from the dude who wanted to make Superman fly because the dude who owns Superman didn't want him to fly.
Yeah.
Jesus.
All right, so sorry, we got way off base with that. But excluding Zack Snyder's, we'll take that out because it kind of feels a little bit disjointed, like they're stitching everything. Let's do now. So I'll go down the line here. Odin, what do you feel about the tone now and what they were clearly going for in Shazam with the blend of both dark and light? And they seem to contrast pretty well.
I guess the biggest problem with the overall tone is that if you take just, if you just take Shazam, then yeah, it was done very well. The problem is that you have the entire other, the rest of the canon of films that just don't. And I think the biggest problem the DCU has right now is the fact that they do not have a person in charge. They don't have anyone with a forward-thinking vision, and they don't have their own Kevin Feige. Now, of course, we have issues with Kevin Feige, what he's trying to do now, but no one can deny the fact that for the past 10 years or, 8 to 10 years, whatever, however long he's been in charge of the MCU, that he's done a great job as far as having a vision and bringing it forward and being consistent with it. DCU has been all over the place. Like, seriously, like Shazam was a great film, but that was an independently good film that when you take it into connecting to the other films in the franchise, it just, as far as the DC universe goes, it just doesn't compute. And it's just, I think that what they need to realize and what they need to do is they need to take whatever they did with Shazam and apply it to everything they're doing going forward if they really want to build a universe. But that's the big question. Do they want to build a universe, or do they just want a series of independent films that are slightly connected? Like, that's the biggest question mark, is there doesn't seem to be a tying thread of all these films that are coming out.
Fair. Yeah, that's a pretty fair point. And to your point, I can understand exactly that perspective. It does, when you take it from the beginning to now, it's very disjointed. Prime, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, Lee, I think we discussed this earlier in private about how DC basically has their, with Warner Brothers, their intellectual properties are privately owned by some people, like Superman being owned by a hairdresser and such like that. And I feel like that's what's crippling DCU versus MCU, because Marvel has almost every single right to their characters now. I mean, besides Sony still and Spider-Man at this point, Disney, Marvel are basically at this point where they can do anything with their characters now, while DC is still struggling just to find some creative balance with people who still own their intellectual properties. And I think that's the whole reason why nothing has really gotten off the ground. I mean, back when we were watching the Dark Knight trilogy, I honestly thought when I saw Man of Steel, this was the next thing that was going to lead up into a continuation from that. And it just fell short and flat when they brought in Ben Affleck and everybody else. And it just seemed like a rush to get Justice League out because, Civil War was happening, I guess, with the MCU. It just seems like DC's always trying to play catch up to Marvel these past couple of years. That's all I got to really say about that.
Yeah, and to your point, that's very fair. I felt like when Justice League came out, it was rushed. I didn't mind Ben Affleck's Batman. I always play devil's advocate on that. Everyone said stuff about to kill people, but if you look in the canon, Batman did, whether he indirectly or directly, he did take people's lives. His line was just that he didn't actively try to kill them. If they fell into a vat of something or stabbed themselves, like in issue 1, and then it just happened, But and that's what I might have think he was going for with the darker tone. And plus, Return of Dark Knight saw an older Batman where he's like, man, I'm not gonna fight these people anymore. I'm just gonna beat them down, and if they kill themselves with like a grenade, it's not on me.
Yeah, there's many iterations of Batman. I mean, there's one with a M1 Garand, for God's sakes. Riding a horse at one point. I mean, there's so many different Batmans out there. It's which one who's going to choose in a movie setting is really anyone's guess at this point.
Geek in Disguise, how do you feel about the tone that the DCU is going for now?
Unbalanced, a little disjointed, because they went from one extreme to another in just a couple of films. I think the DCEU really just got off to a bad start with Snyder. I mean, and this is, I think, where the MCU has prevailed and where DC has failed. The MCU, when it got started, didn't have a comparative note to suffer by. You already have fan favorites established of these characters when it comes to Superman and Batman, because we've had almost perfect iterations of the characters. And when you bring somebody in like Snyder and you go with that tone, you kind of slap people in the face in a way, because they do feel like they're, the characters are getting mistreated and put in this tone that just doesn't quite fit them. And to go from Justice League, which was rushed, to something like Aquaman and now Shazam, it was a good shift towards the right direction. It was just too sudden of a shift. And then I have a feeling there's going to be another schism when Joker comes out this year because of its tone. And then you're going to have the Harley Quinn movie coming out and its tone. Like I say, it's kind of all over the place. Very unbalanced. Where the MCU has gotten to a point where it just flows. Like, I mean, you know what to expect with their movies.
Yeah,
and
that's very fair.
Like they said, with Endgame, it's going to be a completely different feel and tone than the rest, but they do that because it fits the narrative of the story they're telling.
And that is actually a good segue, Geek, because that is my next topic, our favorite since since Captain Marvel. Let's start with you, Odin. How do you feel about the new tone, direction, whatever we're calling this move that the MCU is making? God help us into what phase 4?
I mean, yeah, it's interesting how it all happens, because you have obviously a very different tone that was set with Captain Marvel. You obviously had a certain political message that they wanted to push as well with identity politics, but then Endgame doesn't really seem to have that at all. And so it's kind of confusing because you had a bunch of films for years that all were just great, solid films. And then all of a sudden you get this one random film that comes out right before Endgame that has no purpose other than to push an agenda. And now you have Endgame, which is likely going to be awesome. But then you go into Spider-Man, which will be, I guess, fine. I overall like the direction that they've been taking the Tom Holland Spider-Man, but that's just me. I know that there's a lot of people that have different opinions on it, and I respect that. But at the end of the day, too, it's just very confusing because what is the direction going to be? We really won't know for sure until we get more than just one movie. Like, actually, Captain Marvel is clearly an agenda-driven film, but whether or not the entire Phase 4 is going to be phase woke or not is a huge question mark because we just don't know what they're going to do with the other films.
Yeah, that's, and my opinion definitely is gonna mirror yours there. The tone is very confusing. It's a very confusing direction. Prime Batman. What do you think?
Oh, dude. I honestly don't know what to think anymore, because if anything has to do with the comic pros who left to go become independent creators says anything, it means Marvel's artistic and comic direction in-house can also go right into their movies. I mean, we got Squirrel Girl, Gwenpool, West Coast Avengers. I mean, if we go that route, you're talking about 10 years of cinematography just going out the door. And honestly, I don't think a lot of people are going to be that. I don't know. The best word I could put it is to accepting of it. Because,
who wouldn't love Squirrel Girl?
Well, the same people who wouldn't buy an Angelica figure from Pirates of the Caribbean 4. That's who. But yeah, I mean, we've seen this time and time again. You know, like you build something up and then it just falls flat, and then no one gives a shit about it anymore. I mean, we saw it with Batman, with George Clooney's with Batman Forever, and then it took a long time for Batman to come back. Just, good hiatus.
So yeah, that's a good point. It could put a lot of things in a hiatus, which I'll get to later tonight in the discussion. Geek in Disguise. What are your feelings about the 360 tone shift with the MCU?
180 tone shift. It did a 180. 360 immediately did a complete turnaround. Sorry to correct you. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You've also been.
That's actually good. That's a good point.
Trailer breakdown. So yes, I mentioned.
I think a lot of people hold me accountable for my words when I speak out about Captain Marvel, and I don't so much dislike the character as I do is just what her character inclusion has done to disrupt what we've come to love. But to see, like Odin said, a movie like Captain Marvel to a movie like Endgame, to where they released a trailer for Far From Home before Endgame releases, and you can see 3 total tonal shifts in play right there. And to know that Endgame, which they set up to be dark, depressing, kind of just deep when they did the first trailer, to all of a sudden Far From Home trailer comes out and it's all happy-go-lucky, quips and jokes. Everybody's alive. Everybody's smiling. It's like, hold up. How am I supposed to take this one seriously if you just, present that world to us? And I just, like I say, it's very jarring to all of a sudden go from a consistent flow to just, a break in the pattern. And I believe phase 4, like Odin said, will be phase woke. After reading today about the new Hawkeye series where he's training the new female Hawkeye to actually take over his role in the MCU movies. I told you guys I felt Iron Lad might be coming in because Harley Keener's coming back. To now, I'm afraid Riri Williams is going to come in. They're already doing Kamala Khan. We've got Captain Marvel. I have a feeling like some Jane Foster Thor is going to come into play at some point. And I really see them doing a shift in phase 4 towards a younger, more female demographic and lead in their movies and, focus. And it's almost like from like the golden age to the silver age to the bronze age of comics, how things have changed. Being like phase 1 through 3 was the golden age.
Go ahead. Yeah, you know what? I do agree, and this is scary to me because I don't know how far up you are on the comic book scene. How well do you follow it?
Not much, but since you mentioned Riri Williams, I had to pull up just some more information about this Ironheart person. But what I think is interesting is that Invincible Iron Man 1 sold 97,000 units at $3.99, and that was like her appearances in Invincible Iron Man. And then she gets her own series a year later and sells half the units with the first issue, and then it just plummets and has not reached even the lowest selling issue of Invincible Iron Man, which tells you that no one's buying it, no one cares. But guess what? They bumped the price up a full $1. So you're paying $5 for that Ironheart versus that $3.99 for that Invincible Iron Man. So obviously it ain't doing well. And this is obviously a huge commentary on how the woke comic industry is not doing well at all. And the movies, if they continue to go in the same direction as the comics, just like the comics, are going to have a giant downfall.
And I talk about this a lot to get to my feelings on it, because anyone who's watched channels know I've spoke very vocally about my feelings, because I'm a huge MCU fan. One of my fondest people is Jean Grey, which we'll get into that because I know, Odin, you have reservations. I'm actually stoked about the Dark Phoenix movie because I love Game of Thrones, and I think she's going to do that character really well. But I've always been a fan of the comics, and then to watch the downturn that it takes, and it's like really bad deja vu for me, like really bad, like it's gonna, because we had the cinematic universe, and I go, great, they're going in a different directions like the comics used to be, and now it's just like, no, we're going woke, we're doing this. So it's really disheartening as someone who's about as passionate as Star Wars fans were about their franchise. The thing that sucks about our end is Foggy was so clever to build in a base that outweighs the hardcore fans. So now you got normal moviegoers who really don't care about the lore. They just want to take their kids to see something fun. And that's where we lose the battle. Like Star Wars fans, they hit those movies hard. But yeah.
The MCU is no longer for the fans. It's for the general audience. They took it over.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but the general audience is just sitting there and buying Hot Toys and SH figure arts for $350 a pop. You know, that's the hardcore fans.
Yeah. And I think, you notice it's 2019. Disney took over Marvel in 2009. I have a feeling Disney gave Kevin Feige a 10-year limit and was like, look, we're going to let you do what you do since you started this. You got 10 years to tell your story. but then we're going to start having our input because it just seems like a random out of nowhere, very Star Wars type driven agenda to shift the MCU to what it's going to. And as we know, Iger's already taken responsibility for some part of that in Star Wars. And, you know, pushing too fast, too soon. I mean, we're moving up to 4 Marvel movies a year coming up in 2021.
Don't forget shareholders also have a stake in what's said and done too.
You know, so I say I have a feeling Disney's flexing some muscle and going, you know, our time's now.
Now, here brings us to the part that I was looking forward to because, Odin, you are a stats guy, and I wanted to do the top box office comparisons when it comes to MCU and DCU films. And
I don't think you want to do that. It's not even close.
Yeah,
No.
Spoiler alert, you don't want to go there, man.
There's about a $12.5 billion divide there.
I mean, you got so many years. You got twice as many years in the MCU, and you've got several films that have broken the $1 billion mark. You have Infinity War last year alone that made $2 billion, and in a very, very short amount of time, you're going to have another film called Endgame that might not even just make $2 billion, but could even get close to $3 billion. So I don't think you want to go there, especially since
and then take away the Force Awakens top spot too.
There's only been one DCEU film that's cracked the $1 billion mark, and that was Aquaman. So
now this is the argument. I love how everyone jumped in on that because I knew as soon as I said that it was gonna be lively. But what I meant to say, fellas, was do we think Shazam can take out Captain Marvel? Because
no chance.
I was looking at the numbers.
No chance.
You don't think that Shazam can reach that billion?
No, but I say, yeah, Shazam at its current pace, and that's why I personally love going to boxofficemojo.com because they do this thing where they put it up against other films of a similar type, and they do like a showdown of their first 5 days. So just as a comparison, the first Ant-Man film, which ended up making around $511 million worldwide, is, you know, for its 5 day opening total, was at $71.4 million. Shazam's at 64.7. So yeah. Shazam is lucky if it gets to $400 million, to be perfectly honest. So it's not even come close.
I agree 100%. Like that was my projection, was about 400 million tops, if that.
Yeah.
Not much more if it does.
Yeah, and it's sad because it deserves more. It deserves a hell of a lot more, but it doesn't matter what I think it deserves. I just I see the numbers and I try and track them as such.
Which and you would think, like, if you look at Rotten Tomatoes, you see Captain Marvel sitting at 78, 58, where Shazam is sitting at 91, 89, and it's struggling.
Yep.
Like, it can get all the good scores it wants, but just nobody's churning out.
No, and it has everything to do with who's behind it. And with Captain Marvel, they've got the Disney machine. They've got it in as many theaters as they could. The only other MCU film that has had more theaters was Infinity War. So they put it in every theater possible. They made it as basically as profitable as possible by trying to have as many 3D, IMAX, Dolby shows as possible. Any premium format, they try to get as many showtimes with those theaters as possible, and it guaranteed it. That's why so many people had empty theaters or had half-empty screens, because guess what? When you have that many screens and the average ticket price has been raised, it doesn't matter how many tickets you sell, because if you sell even half of what Infinity War did, well, guess what? Half of Infinity War is $1 billion. So they met that mark, and so it makes total sense to me.
And see, Aquaman had James Wan behind it. He carries a huge following and fan base that anybody will turn out to see his stuff. I mean, so they had that working for Aquaman. That's where Shazam really doesn't. Shazam's got a small note director that has a very niche audience.
And,
yeah.
Prime, what are your thoughts?
I was just about to jump in. With Shazam, honestly, when you look at it, it's I mean, okay, first of all, if you got people who really like it, but you know, I have a forum, and I have a lot of people who are saying like they went really kiddie with the film. You know, it's not like it's a dark, edgy film. You know, it's very family oriented. from what I've heard.
I was at the theater, and there's a couple of things where it toes that line very fine. There's one particular scene that you really like. I saw parents covering their kids' eyes because by the promo you would never think. I mean, and there's a lot of strong language in it where I was like, wow, I can't believe they just like said that. You know, with
Yeah,
the
but considering the fact that you could basically turn on your TV and find that on a daily basis now, I mean, it's not nothing new.
Shazam was very blasé. Been there, done that. Very cliche when it comes to the trope and superhero genre.
Yeah, and I think honestly, if you really want to know my honest opinion, if the general audience went to go see Captain Marvel, and let's say that they're like, oh god, this film is fucking terrible, what makes you think they're going to go see another superhero film 2-3 weeks later? They're like, oh, I'm done with this shit. I'm taking a break.
Well, it's not just that, but I'm gonna take a hiatus because in 2 more weeks, Endgame's gonna be in theaters, and we're gonna.
Oh yeah, exactly. You're gonna save your fucking money, or exactly.
You're gonna go in groups, and it isn't cheap to go in groups. You got popcorn, sodas, tickets. I mean, instead of going,
look at the eBay prices for ticket sales for day one, $5,000 for day one in game, man.
But that's where the money's going. I mean,
what did you feel about as far as it goes about some of the content and whatnot? And did you feel that it did lean too kiddie, or were you like, wow, there was some pretty shocking stuff for something that's marketed that way?
I can't comment because I haven't seen the film. I'm just going by word of mouth, so I'll let other people who've seen it go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's basically a superhero version of Big is the best comparison that can be made. And I love that they are very self-deprecating in the movie by referencing the fact that they know and recognize that that's what essentially the film is, which I love. But I do think, there's definitely some kiddie stuff to it, but there is also a darker element as well. And I think that's why I like it, is because it's very well balanced. It's able to be comedic and light, but also still have a couple of dark moments too, to make it very clear that yes, it can be, this character can be a very light and funny person, but when the character needs to get down to business, they can do that too. And I think that it's actually a good character development for the overall story. The really sad thing, and the reason why this film really isn't making money, is not just because it's not doing well in certain areas. Like, for example, in China, it's only made about 30 million, which means that it's not even going to come close to any of the other DC films and their releases in China. But also, it's not getting released in a lot of countries. Like, the amount of countries that it's getting a release in is so small, and the only other technically major country it's coming out in next is Japan, and Japan's not going to come out in droves to support it.
Get lucky to see 4 million out of Japan.
Yeah, I mean, so the numbers just aren't there. I mean, this is looking at a $150 to $200 million max worldwide gross by the end of it, or rather foreign gross, and then at best a $100 million domestic, and it's sad because it deserves more. But
how much was its budget?
Its budget was So it's according to Box Office Mojo, its production budget was listed at $100 million. However, I believe it got a lot of tax write-offs, and so it actually goes down to around $85-90 million. So it's a film that only technically needs to make about $350 to break even. But at the end of the day, I think that they were hoping for a little bit more, especially since Aquaman was the first film to break $1 billion, and it's sad that this one's not going to even come close.
Yeah, and on many levels, I found this one better than Aquaman. I mean, Aquaman was good. I endorsed it. I thought, for what it was, it did its job well. But this one, I felt hit something for me that I can't describe, but I really liked. Like to your point, Odin, that it was a very good balance. The characters were structured well, and I say in my videos, I'm big on character development. Like that's. I come from like a literature background and reading a lot of books and things like that. And I respect character development and showing character growth and, the things that should be in movies. And, it's sad to see those things in a film and that it's not going to do what everyone was hoping for or even come remotely close. Is kind of sad, So, and that leads me to everyone's favorite topic. This one I put on purpose just to hear the flames roll out. Brie Larson and Endgame cast doing politics. I wanted to bring to the panel a story that actually I saw on Black Angus, where Mark Ruffalo was coming out and trying to boycott in Georgia because they wanted to pass some kind of bill having to do with the limits on abortion. Now, I hate talking about that subject because it's a sticky situation. My point of view is I don't believe that no matter what the topic is, Hollywood stars, especially if you're starring in a big film like Endgame, should come out and openly start championing these things. It's kind of like the Brie Larson thing with her saying nonsensical comments every day. So, Odin, what are your feelings on that?
Well, I mean, the biggest problem with all of it is that all these, big Marvel stars, other than really the only one I can think of is Robert Downey Jr., they're all just crazy leftists. And so they're going to do everything they can to jump on any political issue they possibly can, including this law in Georgia, which at the end of the day, all it did was, try and say that, once there's a heartbeat, you shouldn't be able to destroy the life there. And I just think that that's kind of a extreme position to say that that's not a correct statement. That's just me. When it comes to these characters, though, and these as actors, it's really not surprising because they've been doing it for years now. The difference between a Mark Ruffalo and a Brie Larson is that Mark Ruffalo, is political, but at no point has he ever tried to write off an entire group of people. Brie Larson, on the other hand, is political, but then also said, I don't care about what white people have to say, what white dudes have to say about certain movies. It wasn't made for you. And that's just dangerous thinking, because if you're trying to say that certain movies are only made for certain people, then what you're doing is you're essentially just trying to segregate people, because it's like, oh, this is a white movie made for white people. This is a black movie made for black people. No, that's not how it works. Most movies are made for everyone, or made for like a wide range of people. Like if you think Jordan Peele went out of his way to make a movie and said, oh, this is just for black people. No, absolutely not. He's like, this is for any person that wants to see it because I'm getting your money, and money doesn't have a color. And it's just sad that you live in a world now where Brie Larson just can't seem to figure out that she can still be political, because guess what? Chris Evans has been political. Mark Ruffalo has been political. They've all been. And yet people still like their characters because when they're on screen, they present the characters very well. The difference is that she is a mixed bag when it comes to her performances, and she's gone to a point that's a little too far.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just saying in one of my videos, I was like, I feel like they need to put that muzzle from like Hannibal on her, when they had him in the chair where he couldn't bite anyone. They need to put that on her face every time she goes in public, so she doesn't say something asinine when she's doing these interviews, because I have never in my life seen someone purposely try to torpedo their movie like her. It's actually quite amazing. Like, since Rian Johnson, I've never seen anyone trying to just outright make people upset so they didn't go and see it. Prime, what do you think on this?
Well, I actually think quite the opposite here, because any speech that is denied of somebody can always be used against you. And trying to put a muzzle on Brie Larson about what she thinks about somebody is the exact oxymoron that could lead to the same agenda that they're trying to do to platformers on YouTube, or YouTube like us, to silence us on our opinion. Free speech is meant to be free speech, no matter wherever you say it or whatever you do with it. The thing of it is that people need to have more common sense when it comes to people listening to people like Brie Larson. That's the thing. There needs to be objective truth to the matter. So when people speak something, you base it up by facts. And I know that a lot of people do that already, and a lot of people are subjective to deny facts, especially left wingers who Ben Shapiro does it to him all the time, and then they still don't believe it. But it's a very thin line to say that we should put a muzzle on anything, because if we do that, then we're no different than anybody on the left side trying to put a muzzle on us. And we have to tread carefully when we say things like that, because if we don't, we're just going to end up shooting ourselves in the foot.
Yeah, very, very true. And when I say that, I'm being purely sarcastic. But yeah, to your point, it's just kind of like a cross we have to bear, because we can't say, hey, they're attacking us and then like go on the attack. I completely understand where you're coming from with that point, because then, you know, we're kind of just going right into the mud and fighting back, and really no one wins in that tiff. Geek in Disguise, how do you feel about this and politics being interjected? The thing with
I think it's a dick move. It's part of my French. To sit there and try and use your place of power and popularity, or, you know, social stature in your community to try and strong arm an actual state into complying with your demands in that nature by threatening to cripple their economy. And, you know, I mean, say I've been a proud resident of Georgia for 10 years now. Hollywood has been a big part of the state as far as how far it's come in the past 10 years because of all the money they're making from doing filming here. And to threaten to take business away would just like, what the heck was that dude's name? The guy we were on that stream with that night, like he said, you're going to take food out of kids' mouths because you're going to cost people their jobs. They're going to lose money. They're going to face financial hardships, and all over just a political stance. Like, what happened to the day where we used to sit down as a collective and communicate and talk and deliberate and come up with plans and, you know, middle ground? Like, that's what the whole message of The Walking Dead was last season, was where 4 communities need to come together, sit down, talk, figure shit out. You know, not just sit here and throw demands at each other.
Yeah, and, you know, not to cut you off, but this was a point me and Chris Knight did on episode 2. We talked about entertainment, and we talked about Article 13 and all that. And he said the same exact thing, and he made a good point that as far as it goes, the people of Georgia, where you live, your people, you know, you guys should be the ones involved in that process. Now, if, you know, there's always been activism in Hollywood, and if they want to come out in support and say, well, this is how I feel, it's how they've done it for years, but it's just the way they go about saying things and wanting to sort of strong arm people and force people into viewing things. And like you said, it comes back to the fact that we don't have the good old days where you could sit down and talk. Politics and all of this has become so visceral and so nasty, with people hating each other, and it's not in that fun Christmas way where you used to have the family members who would argue and then they come back and do it the next year. You always knew when they got into a room and politics started flying, they were going to say some stuff, but, you know, it was all going to be good at the end. And that's what we're missing. That's why I started this segment to talk, because I felt like, you know, there should be safe spaces. There should be places that we can talk about these things and not have to worry about people getting nasty and indignant, and, you know, just have a good conversation, you know. And at the end of the day, if we all on this panel don't agree about certain things, or we see different views, and like, you got your view, I got mine, but we're all still cool, you know. And that's what we're missing now. So,
I mean, what would Zac Efron say at a moment like this? We're all in this together.
This is the definition of bromance right here.
I've only got one thing to say. When it comes to the political spectrum, really nothing has changed in the last 275 years. It's just that it's came to a head because someone's been able to weaponize useful idiots. I mean, that's basically it.
Collective mindset, yeah.
And yeah, that's, you know, that's the shame of it. But getting back, we're going to my favorite topic that I've wanted to discuss. The day for me that the music died, when Disney acquired Fox and oh god, X-Men and Fantastic Four. I'm in so much pain getting into this. Let's start with you, Odin, because I'm gonna go last because I might cry. What do you think of this acquisition and the future of X-Men and Fantastic Four?
Well, seeing that we're not going to get any any X-Men films at the very least for another 5 years, I don't really have too many high hopes. Now, I know some people might look at that and say, oh, well, maybe they're going to try and reboot it and make it awesome. But based on their track record recently, I just don't see that happening. I would say that what we'll likely see, since they're seeming to go in a more cosmic direction at this point, is that we'll probably have Fantastic Four come into play in Phase 4, I would imagine. We'll probably get a Fantastic Four independent film, or at least we'll have them be referenced at some point. And I'm kind of worried, kind of concerned, because the Fantastic Four have yet to have a really good film as far as live action is concerned. And I don't really know if we're going to get that with this current regime over at Disney, because at the end of the day, we saw what they try to do with the movie and when they try to do with the story with Fanforstic, as I like to call it. But I don't really know if they're going to try and make it any better, unfortunately.
Yeah, Fantastic Four is murky waters for me. To be honest with you, I only watched the original, and I'm sure everyone can agree. Jessica Alba, who is now my 7th wife, Prime, I forget. I wasn't trying.
She was your 9th.
9th, thank you.
It was your 7th. Oh, I'm telling Rose, I'm calling her.
Don't you dare tell Rose. My love for her is on a different level.
It's okay. Sema Hayek says it's all right.
Rose, no, don't worry about that.
No. So, Prime, I know that you, I know you have some strong feelings. Go ahead and unload, buddy.
Okay, I got 4 points. Okay, first of all, 4 points for the Fantastic Four and X-Men. There you go. All right, so one, I'm not sure how they're going to treat the Fantastic Four, if any. You know, we might get some Disney streaming service version of it, maybe. Who knows? I'm not sure if they'll gender swap anybody. I mean, I don't think they're going to gender swap Silver Surfer, because then it'd just be a silver naked lady on a surfboard.
No, she would have a bikini. She would have a bikini.
She would be covered up right now.
Maybe even a Captain Marvel skirt.
Maybe. You know, there's so many things. You know, the MCU is such a big spectrum that, you know, when it comes down to it, you know, you got Galactus, who's never even shown his face, and we're just worried about Thanos right now, you know? So, there's that. And then you have, with X-Men, I'm not sure. You know, I've talked to you before, it's like, how they're going to bring the X-Men in the MCU, since no one's seen them. I mean, I'm not even sure. Was Quicksilver even considered a mutant in the MCU?
No.
Okay, so
considered an enhanced.
Well, the reason why is because they couldn't use the language beforehand. So now that they own the rights, I would not be surprised if maybe we start to hear that word being used a little bit more often.
Or how about they retcon it and go that the Mind Stone actually unlocked the X gene?
Ooh.
That's what I was about to point out. Like, maybe, you know, the snapback makes all the people who come back turn into mutants, and that's how.
Talked about that.
Or after they you know, defeat Thanos and destroy the stones, when the Mind Stone explodes, it sends out like a global wave that just activates X genes globally. You know.
You've been thinking about this too long, haven't you?
Don't get too excited, because your expectations are going to be subverted. And
I know.
It's going to be so sad.
The reason I thought about that was mostly because of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the whole Terrigenesis that just, you know, changed the world in 2 days. Like,
yeah,
so
and
like global level.
And then, you know, and then there's the point. Like, if you do that, then Wolverine's origin is going to be completely screwed up.
Yeah.
You know, the dude is supposed to be like 200 years old, and you know, certain canons of his backstory. And if you just make Wolverine this dude who just starts off in the MCU, then you're like, oh, okay, that's weird. And then I mean, hang on for a second. Did they make Black Panther's suit adamantium or something of that sort?
Vibranium.
Okay, so adamantium has not been discovered currently. The MCU has.
No.
Oh, great. And they gotta see. There's so many things they gotta fill in.
Yep.
I mean, how do you go from, you know, like half the planet's been snapped to, okay, now we have half the planet are mutants, and then you're gonna bring in William Stryker? How are you gonna do that? You know, everybody's like, oh my god, thank God you're back, and then this dude comes and is like, everybody's a mutant, they have to be annihilated. It's like, what? They should have built this up way back then, but considering Fox had the dealings, I don't know. It's just I always felt like the MCU was a great thing, but it just felt like because too many hands in the cookie jar that without a proper build up of everybody who's supposed to be in the Avengers, it just falls flat, in my opinion. Because it'd be great to see Wolverine go against Thanos and shit like that. It'd be great to have Wolverine claw out Nick Fury's fucking eyes, that fucking cat.
Oh God, don't even. Well, geeking this, guys. How do you feel about the acquisition, X-Men, Fantastic Four, and all that?
As a whole, I think it was just an absolute power play move, mostly because they wanted rights to certain things like Hulu. There's a lot of perks that come in with just buying Fox. I mean, you get their stock and whatever they hold stock in, which Disney now owns a majority in a lot of things. And Disney now owns the box office every year. I mean, including Fox slate this year that they're releasing, which includes New Mutants and stuff, 20 movies. Disney's got 20 movies on the slate this year to be released. That's box office domination. They're going
That's a monopoly.
It is. And as far as certain franchises like X-Men and Fantastic Four coming into play, this is where things I think are going to get hairy for the MCU. Because like I said before, when they first started, you couldn't go, oh, such and such did Tony Stark better, or such and such did Captain America better. Now, you're going to have major loss felt because a lot of people like James McAvoy, and they liked Fassbender. And you're going to have very divisive casting decisions and character development decisions that are going to come into play that are probably going to piss some people off. Because they hold characters like Wolverine and stuff in such a high regard. And I mean, Hugh Jackman is Wolverine. I mean, he's the only person that's really played him outside of one dude in a parody. But, I mean, he's to Wolverine what Robert Downey Jr. is to Tony Stark. And with the way they left that character in Logan, which was just a high note for him to go out on, they're going to wreck it. And like you said, they do not need to make X-Men young again. They need to kind of have a mix between a younger crowd and older established characters. But it's going to be hard to weave those characters' backstories into the history you've already established with the Avengers side of the universe. Fantastic Four, they've had some pretty bad movies, so I don't think people are really going to too much mind what direction they go with them in, as long as it's better than what we got before, which is a 90% chance, happening. But like I said, overall, I think it was a dick move on their part to do it because, like he said, it's almost a monopoly. You're going to now dominate no matter what you do. And it was a move I don't think should have been allowed to happen.
And jumping in on that, this gives my emotional turbulence because I had not only looked at it from X-Men and Fantastic Four, but you have like Aliens and things like that I love, and I've been doing videos to that. And with the direction that they've gone in with all these things, and then you see what Disney has done with various other IPs that are not their own, and wrecking storylines and putting stupid people in charge that don't know anything about writing or anything like that. It's like I have this feeling of dread. Like we're going to see a lot of IPs destroyed that Fox once had. And I mean, it's various things. I don't know if you could back me up here on Odin, but what other big Fox has a lot of big things. I mean,
Aliens.
Yeah, I'm actually
Avatar?
Avatar, Aliens. I'm actually, as far as keeping it in the MCU at the very least, I'm more interested to see what the hell they do with Deadpool 3.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's gonna be bad.
Because at this point, Deadpool can now officially be brought into the MCU, and I think that, man, if they wanted to pull the nuclear option on anything, if they realized that they were going down a very, very, very bad and financially detrimental path. All they would need to do is pull the nuclear option and have Deadpool show up in any movie and cause havoc, and it'd be amazing.
Yeah, there's a thing that people are saying that Deadpool should become the new like Stan Lee cameo.
Yes.
Oh, that would be great. You just see him.
Yeah, you just insert him, and he's like self-aware, and he's like, "Oh, hey there," you know.
Or hell, you could have Mystique actually run around and shapeshift as, you know, a CG Stan Lee.
Oh God.
Oh no! Don't give him any ideas.
Yeah. And on that note, I do have to head out, guys. But please continue the conversation without me. Thank you so much again for having me on. It's been a lot of fun. You guys are awesome. Anyone who's watching, please subscribe to these channels. These seem like some really awesome dudes.
All right, Odin, have a good one, buddy.
Yeah, thank you, Odin, for coming on. We really
spread the word to your community, because we want to get collective here. We really want to get in and, you know, branch out, because I love many different opinions. You know, it makes for interesting topics and discussion.
For sure, man. Absolutely. Well, thank you again for having me on. You guys have a great stream. All right.
You too, Odin. Thank you.
All right. See y'all later.
Later, bud.
Okay, so with
on that note,
on that note, the stream's over. We're all no.
Well, I mean, to add into what I said, not only does Disney own the box office, but they literally pretty much own the box office. They own 4 of the 5 top highest grossing movies in history now.
Don't they own AMC theaters too? I've been hearing that a lot lately.
Yes, actually they do. They actually own AMC and History Channel. Yeah.
So the only thing that Disney's missing is to start putting in their own damn theaters with their logo on it.
Which I bet you. Did you guys hear about Netflix?
No. What happened now?
Netflix actually purchased their first brick and mortar theater, and they're going to be airing Netflix movies and stuff during the week. They bought a.
Why would anybody want to look at Brie Larson's unicorn movie in a fucking brick and mortar?
I don't know. But
you guys actually, Geek, you were in there for my pain for that movie.
Yeah. But my thing is, if Netflix does this and it's successful and they decide to branch out, Disney will follow soon after and start making their own superplexes.
But that doesn't make any sense. I thought the streaming service thing was like the wave of the future, and that movie theaters were basically going out of style.
Well, see, what interests me is what prices are they going to slap on these movies they're playing during the week? Because, I mean, if you're buying a movie ticket, that's almost your subscription for Netflix for the month. So you might as well just get your Netflix subscription.
Yeah, because unless it's like 25 cents a seat, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous.
I think what they did was
one thing. If Netflix buys the theaters, I will shamelessly plug them on my channel. I will be working there.
Actually, you should buy the theater you work at. That way you can just fucking sit there and be like, yeah, I own this area. You're not getting it. You want it? It's worth this amount of money.
I'm looking it up right now. Oh, they're buying the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood because apparently it's struggling financially. So they're going to step in, buy it, help them out, let them continue a weekend basis like they normally have been, and use the weekdays to air Netflix originals and stuff like that. So
that just doesn't make any sense.
It's Netflix, man. What does anything they do make sense? They just throw crap at the wall and hope it sticks.
I mean,
the thing, it does. It does, and it makes them throw more. It was like is
this like a legitimate response to what Steven Spielberg was saying? Because they weren't legitimately in a theater.
I think they did it just to say, you know what? Yeah, we'll get our own theater.
Yeah, and I mean, look at how Disney's jumping on the streaming bandwagon. And like I said, if Netflix does it and it's successful, expect Disney superplexes to start popping up with anything from standard to freaking 4D, experiences. And they would probably make a killing off of it.
Okay, yeah, and expect the same amount of security you get at Disney World. Let me have your thumbprint. Here's your name tag. Make sure you sit in your designated seat and keep all hands and feet within the vehicle at all times.
Jesus. Now, getting into, and I didn't get a chance with Odin, kind of rounding the end of the stream here. I saw a couple of interesting little trailers floating around, and when I say them, Geek in Disguise, if you dare do a trailer breakdown before I do, I will find you. What do we feel about the new Dark Universe kind of movies that they have coming out? They have Brightburn and the New Mutants. And how do we feel about like horror superhero films? Because I'm liking the kind of shift into a more darker area. And then it really lends credence to the argument that Zack Snyder had, where he was taking it. If we are going to have a Superman movie where he's essentially killing people, Prime, you seem like the person who would love to start this off.
Honestly, I don't really have much to say about all that. I mean, I've always been into the big superheroes, but when it comes to like New Mutants and like new ideas, it just seems like it's a lot to be invested in to people who are just used to the original stuff. I mean, it's an interesting concept, but I don't know. Does anybody know the statistical report of how well that FX Mutant show's doing right now? I mean,
Which one?
good?
Yeah. The not
Oh,
not Legion, but the other one, The Gifted.
Yeah,
It's dead. It's getting canceled.
yeah,
it was. I mean, it wasn't doing very well. I mean, I think it was getting like 2.2 million a week, which is better than
but
most.
on the flip side of that, what Legion is doing very well, highly critically acclaimed, going into its third season, and that's a really dark, trippy show.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
So, I mean, I don't know. I think it's how I'm feeling like it's how you market it. Like, Prime, I don't know if you've seen the trailer for Brightburn, but it looks just fantastic.
Nah, I haven't really caught much anything on.
It looks like a breath of fresh air to the genre. To be honest.
Yeah. Prime, when you get a chance, look it up. Just pull up the Brightburn trailer. And it's basically the story premise is what would happen if Superman didn't have Martha or Clark Kent, and they had he still had a loving family, but they didn't know what to do, and he took a turn for the worse.
Prime Geek, are you familiar with DC's Ultraman?
Heard of it, not really dwelled into it.
Basic synopsis is he's just the evil version, like just downright deviant, evil version of Superman, basically. Which I think is what Brightburn really is harnessing here. Because Ultraman had a kind of a similar origin to Superman. He came to Earth, and he had loving family and stuff, but he just turned evil.
I mean, I am a little bit familiar with Red Sun, which is basically the
it's just
version.
a mashup basically between Red Sun and Ultraman. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm gonna actually do a video probably later tonight or first thing in the morning because there's some new details about the Spawn movie coming, and I think Spawn is really going to invigorate the horror side of comic book movies because, like, I was just reading the guy. Let's see, what was his name? Greg Nicotero, who is now he's from The Walking Dead. He directed some of The Walking Dead, but he's now the second director of photography, but he's also the zombie makeup and effects guru behind The Walking Dead. Todd McFarlane hired him to help him with Spawn, and I'm like, dude, that's a solid choice right there for effects. Like, and I'm really looking forward to the Underworld and Spawn now, his character design, if that's who they're getting to do the effects. But there needs to be, man. I mean, and see, that's what I was a little disappointed with DC's shift, because all DC had to do was make a few alterations, and they could have balanced it out. instead of shifting over to that family-friendly, jokey, light-hearted tone. There needs to be a balance in comic book movies. Disney cannot dominate the genre with family-friendly, kid-friendly comic book movies. Because if not, it's just going to become so oversaturated. Like, little movies just choke out.
Say what you will, DC had it. I mean, with Chris, whatever you want to say about Christopher Nolan,
yeah,
they had it at that one point. Dark Knight was fucking critically acclaimed in 2008,
and it was very easy. They could have very easily tied the Dark Knight trilogy to Man of Steel,
and that's what everybody was hoping for. I remember reading the forums back.
Everybody's been wanting a Robin movie. You had Joseph Gordon-Levitt coming in as that little Easter egg as Dick Grayson. He was, he could have played Robin. Give him a solo movie. He could have played Robin. Well, guess what? It's not really working out for me. Batman's on hiatus with Selena Kyle somewhere. So let me take up the mantle of Batman, just like they did in the comics. And word starts to spread. And then all of a sudden, around the time of Man of Steel, Bruce Wayne catches wind that he took on the mantle, despite Bruce Wayne telling him not to. Comes back into the picture, reprises the role, and then Man of Steel happens. Which, because Clark Kent had been living off the radar. Nobody knew people like him existed.
Yeah, and during that time, to fill the gap of production with Man of Steel, they could have taken Gotham and, made that more of a backstory to the Dark Knight trilogy.
Exactly.
And here's the thing I want to bring up while Prime has that fresh in my mind. Gotham is like one of my favorite shows to watch. Even this final season has hit a lot of good beats for me. And I'm just thinking, to your point, if they tied that in right after the, or even before or in the middle of the Christopher Nolan trilogy and used it kind of like Star Wars did with Clone Wars and all of that, go into kind of an expanded universe, but it ties in the movies from the old to the new. That would have been good connective tissue. You could have even brought the dude who plays Penguin on that is phenomenal, and the person who plays Riddler is phenomenal as well. And even the guy who plays Jeremiah, who's not Joker, but we all know is, you could shoehorn some of these guys in and just have them reprise their roles. And I think they do good on a big screen format. And just make something off of that.
But with them bringing in Bane now, it just kind of like it defeats the purpose.
Well, because like I said, they had no connective tissue now with the DCEU being out of joint. But had this happened before, that ending to Gotham could have been different, and it could have been a segue into a new Batman, a darker Batman.
And like I was saying earlier, it's just like DC does not have a projection of where they're taking their IPs at all. It just seems like every film they do is like a visual masterpiece that some random director makes it just like some standalone thing. There's nothing that really connects any film to the other film at all, besides the ones they have right now with Justice League and Wonder Woman and such like that. But even with that, I mean, honestly, it just seems like it's a step backwards. So, like, you got Wonder Woman, but now you got the sequel to Wonder Woman coming out after Justice League.
You mean a sequel that isn't a sequel?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
and then we wonder why we worry about DC.
Like, that's why I wanted to have this discussion, and I was glad to have Odin on for the numbers, and breaking down the box office, because this is the reason why there's such a large gap. And it wasn't because the DCU had a late start. It was because the DCU, and they're still kind of trying to mimic and imitate what the MCU did. And it's like DC and Marvel have been different since the inception of comic books. They've always had a different route, a different flavor. And I feel like instead of playing like Marvel did, no matter whether you like what Kevin Feige's doing now or not, he stuck with the tone of Marvel and tweaked it so a general audience would like it. And, played with things here and there, but he kept the core essentially the same. Whereas DCU tried to go edgy, tried to go hard, really, and then they didn't commit all the way. So they kind of like set up something, and then they're like, oh, well, and instead of writing it out and just fixing the problems that were in the other aligning movie, they completely are like, well, MCU's doing this, so let's switch over to them. And it's like a copy and paste. And that is the biggest problem, the divide, why there's such a large gaping hole, is because each of the franchise MCU established themselves, and the DCU tried to establish themselves based on the MCU, which you can't do that. If you're gonna trailblaze and do your own thing, just let it roll and roll the dice. That's part of building these franchises. No one thought Iron Man was going to be good, and to be fair, the MCU had quite a few bombs before they hit on Iron Man. I mean, I'm still forgetting those old Hulk movies, and I mean, we've had the Punisher, Dolph Lundgren. I mean, there's been some bad.
Don't forget Spider-Man 3.
Bad MCUs, but and people forget that track record. I mean, the MCU kind of redeemed themselves with Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, and then shot themselves in the foot with the third one. So I mean, MCU doesn't have this stellar track record that everyone seems to think that they do. They had their growing pains, and the DCU had a chance to come in on the ground floor without that many hiccups. They were doing animated stuff really well, and to kind of like weave their own tapestry, take their time, and then eventually maybe overtake the box office. And that is just my thoughts. What do you think, Prime?
I think the DCU is very late when it comes to anything they ever do. If DCU wanted to do something different than what Marvel was doing with their cinematic universe, they could have done the DC streaming service a long time ago.
Exactly.
And if they would have started that a long time ago and started making shows that correspond with the yearly release of the movies to basically connect, because the DCU is such a vast, a mass of different superheroes, especially when you get back into the Justice League. So if you're able to introduce characters and then basically place them into a systematic approach where they pop up in a film, but you know why they pop up in a film, because of the show and the streaming service, that would have decimated MCU, because MCU is basically just relying on movies for origin and then popping them into an Avengers film every 2 years.
Exactly. I definitely agree. Geek in Disguise, what do you think?
What's like? I was listening, but what's the general subject topic again?
Basically, like if DC had made their streaming service a long time ago and introduced characters to actually bridge characters into movies, instead of copying MCU where they make an origin movie and then they bring them into an Avengers in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I think that would have been a smart move. Also, they would have been better off doing shows like The Flash and all that over on their own streaming service instead of on the CW, because I understand Warner Brothers owns CW part of it, but it would have, given them a little bit more liberty. I mean, look what they've done with Doom Patrol, for crying out. Like, first episode of Doom Patrol, my mouth was on the floor. Because I'm like, am I seriously sitting here watching DC property live action with nudity, drug use, like straight sex scenes showing I'm like, it really was jarring.
Is this HBO?
I'm like, yeah, because I'm like, where did this come from? I was not expecting this. Not from what you saw built up through the trailers, And I mean, it's DC's that always too late to the party. But I have a question.
You know what?
There's something I heard going around the water cooler.
Oh boy!
Do you know the CW shows? A lot of them are coming to an end this year. This next season. However, we saw how their last big major crossover event made canon shows like the 1990s Flash and stuff like that. Smallville. So now we all know that multiple Earths, all those universes took place in the CW verse, basically. I heard that the big crossover event that they're doing this year is going to go out with a bang and bridge movies and television.
What?
Now here,
What they gotta do? Bring back Dean Cain as Superman?
Well, I mean, no, I'm thinking like Michael Keaton. Like they're gonna connect the DC movies to the DC TV shows.
You got to get a
Michael
checkbook
Keaton.
out for Michael Keaton. He isn't touching Batman unless he sees a big movie production.
I'm not saying like him.
Here's
You
the
know,
problem that I have with every crossover, and I have watched certain CW shows, is that they've got grand ideas and a pretty decent storyline, but they don't have the budget to cover what they need to cover to make it as spectacular as advertised. Like when you see the posters and stuff, especially when they were doing their last crossover, was like kind of a Flashpoint thing. And I'm looking at the poster, and by the poster, I'm like, whoa, like, okay, CW stepping up their game. And I watched crossover, and I'm like, I could see where it started off good, where they kind of had the money, and they went from like Flash to Arrow, and they're like, okay, we're going to spend the money here. And then when you get to where Supergirl jumps in, and you know, the Legends of Tomorrow, I'm like, and then like, the Batwoman arc was good. I like what's her name. She's a good actress, and the SJWs attacked her, so I supported her.
Oh yeah,
Ruby Rose.
Yeah, Ruby Rose.
Yeah. They said she wasn't lesbian enough. Were there?
How is a lesbian not lesbian enough?
I don't know. Was Batgirl always lesbian? Because that seems like a new trend.
No, that particular characterization was. I mean, there's different. I mean, there's what Brown, Cassandra Cain. There's
the original Batgirl actually was Oracle, who was Commissioner Gordon's daughter.
Yeah, Barbara. Yeah.
Before she got the wheelchair deal from Joker and the Killing Joke.
I always like the Batman Beyond version because she's walking in that one.
You know, I'm just counting how many strikes I'm gonna get for your comments, Prime. You're just gonna pull my channel down tomorrow.
Why?
They're like, oh, he just defended the female populace, and he offended handicapped people, and
I am handicapped, so they can go suck on something, okay?
But yeah, I mean, it was astonishing to me that they were able to put together the idea, and the quality was good for the two shows. But here's why this crossover will never work. Geek in the Skies, because of the fact that if you want to do a merger that big, they would spend the whole budget just trying to get Michael Keaton, and then there'd be no episode.
Well, I don't think it would be so much. I mean, not specifically Michael Keaton. I mean, dude, what about George Clooney? What about Val Kilmer? I mean, they get Val Kilmer cheap as shit.
Val Kilmer is knocking on death's door right now, dude.
Give him like $30 and a box of donuts, and he's coming around.
No, I'm serious. He's. Have you seen Val Kilmer?
No, I mean, I know. He's actually lost some weight.
Yeah, he's lost some weight because he's dying.
I mean, hell, what about the other guy that's big on TV now? Is it CSI or NCIS? Chris O'Donnell?
Did you say PSI?
Oh my God! Wait! You want CSI Miami dude to play fucking Batman?
No, what I'm saying is Chris O'Donnell was Robin in the Batman movies.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy. My bad.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They have a lot of people they can approach and go, hey, and probably get them to join in. Like, look at how Supergirl did with all them damn cameos. I mean,
is it too late just to like make a mock-up of a gravestone that says Bruce Wayne and just visit Adam West's grave?
And like, okay, so I want to bring up something to the point because actually this goes into budgeting issues. Now, look at Teen Titans. A lot of people have problems with that. I personally love the show. I loved the last episode in particular. I thought it was very well done. But if you noticed, and this is what happens with these licensing issues and why DC is also fractured, is because they couldn't show Batman, but they showed the silhouette, they showed the Batarang, they showed him like going ham on all of these guys, and it's implied you know who it is, but I remember watching the directors and stuff talk about it. They weren't allowed to actually show Batman, and they didn't want to because they didn't want him to overshadow the Teen Titans.
Yeah. See, that right there in that sentence itself is like the most idiotic thing I've ever heard. How does a DC streaming service not have rights to show Batman?
It's like the same way Gotham didn't have the rights to actually call him Joker. I mean, it's just
I know, but it's an oxymoronic thing because
too many.
Like I was talking about, yeah, like I was saying, like too many intellectual properties have been sold off from Disney. I mean, not Disney, from Warner Brothers. That it's just like, what the hell?
See, and like I know when they did the crossover event where they introduced Smallville, they did it by like they didn't actually bring anybody in from Smallville. Tom Welling didn't show up as Superman, but you could clearly see that they had characters that were established in Smallville dead on the ground in the battlefield where they were going up against the dude with the book. And like, dude, they went as far as making Jay and Silent Bob canon to the freaking CW verse.
Was Kevin Smith crying in this too? Because I must have missed that.
No. Jay and Silent Bob took a break in Jersey and moved out and went and got jobs as museum guards in Central Star City or whatever it is that the Flash lives in. And one of the cases they were working, the museum got robbed, and Jay and Silent Bob were out in the parking lot going back and forth about one of the vases getting broken. And I'm like, and it was clear as day it was Jay and Silent Bob. So I'm like, great, now Jay and Silent Bob are part of this universe. Like, this is. And now
they're self-aware of their own fucking universe.
It's the same way Marvel did with Captain Marvel.
So basically, Jay and Silent Bob are DC's Deadpool. Okay, gotcha.
And so I'm saying it's like they can make it happen even if they don't bring in those types of people. But like, let's just say the Flash pops into one Earth and you see the old classic '89 Batmobile flying down the street. Or the bat signal in the sky, or I mean, there's a lot of different ways they can do it without actually blowing budget, and I mean, I'm sure they can find some people hard up for some money and bring them in, like,
and this brings me to my final talking points for everyone here on the panel. And this is going to be, along with itself, a loaded question. How do each of us feel about the DC and all their shows and tie-ins, and not just taking the movies into account, but the direction we think they're going, and MCU and now the streaming platform and their shows and what direction we feel they're going to go in? And we're going to go hard on this one. I'm going to be completely demonetized before I get monetized. We're going to go. I'm like, 1,000 subs. And they send me a letter. No. Okay. So, how do we feel that with all of these politically as well, which do we feel is going to reach dark side first? And Prime Geek, go.
It's going to be Marvel because it's Disney. Disney is going to go full libtard and just ruin everything. I mean, look, they've already bought Fox. It's expect Aliens, expect Predator, expect Avatar, expect everything you've thought of that has the Fox logo on it. Just expect it to be like I don't know, really, really fucked up, okay, and progressive. And DC is always been on the borderline of turning left. It's just taking a slow and steady, churn. It's like, Disney basically throws the frogs into the hot water. DC's got the frog in the water and it's just slowly turning up the temperature. So, in essence to that, I don't know. I mean, if you were talking about Keaton. If they really want to do something, just make Batman Beyond and just make Michael Keaton Old Man Bruce and then fight somebody for Terry McGinnis, Scott Eastwood or somebody. I don't give a damn.
And there we go. We just fixed the universe. Here on the channel, You guys heard it. We've officially fixed DC, and for the win. Geek in disguise. Loaded question, buddy. How do you feel about it?
Oh, again, what? DC or Disney and
The
Fox?
whole everything, basically.
Yeah, everything. And who's racing to the woke side first? Are we gonna
We got bets. It's 2-1 right now.
That's Disney by a long stretch, man. I mean, they were doing that before the CW verse really got established when they started fucking around with the new Star Wars.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Disney's been climbing that hill successfully once again, faster than the DCEU.
Well,
So-
like, did I not see a precursor in the last Predators movie? Despite how awful that movie was, the end armor, like it was like female at first. Like there was that female Predator too.
God,
That didn't have tits.
Well, no. Okay, first off, I want to say, Geek, that movie lost me after the crux of the movie was autism. They thought autism was. I was like, oh no, please don't
very
go
well
down.
creepy, though. I mean, you saw how that kid.
Don't get this. Don't get this bad. And they did it. They did it. It just did it.
Yes. And apparently, in the new Predators, they established the Yacha and Vagality female predator lore. So apparently there is a new breed of like female predators coming into play apparently in the future in the Predators franchise, which something we've never seen.
Let me guess. The female predators were suppressed. Now they're becoming progressive.
I mean, you really don't have to go too woke with aliens, other than, I mean, you can't really do what's already been done, and you can't outdo Ridley.
Okay, I was having a watch party, and Prime had the honor of being in that with.
Oh my God, Mary screaming like a giddy little schoolgirl, man. God,
Prime was in his glory on that panel.
Oh, I was laughing so hard.
But you know, and it proves to one thing. And maybe they'll prove me wrong, but you can't go woke with that series because that series established the strong female.
That series transcends woke.
Dude, you can go woke with anything, okay?
Oh,
you know, wait till you get the transgender xenomorph. Just wait.
No.
Like, what do you think about Die Hard, dude? Do you think it's gonna shift around to his daughter?
It's gonna be Bruce Willis's daughter.
No, it's gonna shift around. It's gonna shift around to whatever they want it to be. I mean,
no, we established Bruce Willis has a daughter, and she is
yeah, but then she marries this dude from India, then they have a kid together. Now it's a socially diverse kid 20 years later who grew up with the John McClane name, you know.
I'm waiting for the Hills Have Tits
because I might get promoted by YouTube for saying we're like, this guy is so progressive. They're like taking notes.
Planet of the woke apes.
Oh, that's another thing. Like, you know, like who says it has to be humans? I mean, we could go apes, you know, like ape power, you know.
The Omen's about to become the Woman.
Oh God, there's so many. Bringing to light so many points. I mean, there's so many IPs for
the trans dash order.
Yeah. You're gonna have 4 women who crash on a planet that's controlled by apes who are all progressive apes.
Because they got to be albino apes to symbolize the white male dominance.
No, you can't do that. Remember, because the ape is supposed to be the good guy in the film. It's the man that's bad.
Yeah, you're right.
So basically, you're going to have all the female apes being in power, and the male apes are servitudes, and then you got the humans, which are the more servitudes. You know, like they're the lower class servitudes.
Lake Placid's got to become Lake Flaccid.
Oh.
Wait, or the humans could just be, you know, like cattle. You know, like they just slaughter us and make leather bags out of us. You don't ever know.
Oh. What about Alien Nation though? Like, I'm a big fan of Alien Nation. I love the movies. I love the show.
I have a feeling. Okay, this is my thoughts, and this is what I was.
Just one.
Sorry. So many. This is what scared me about Fox because, and I just started doing my love letter to Alien and all this, and then I thought about it, and I'm like, and even in my gaming, okay, I played the Marvel Strike Force game, and big surprise, Captain Marvel is the most powerful character in the game, and I'm not gonna lie, I've got her unlocked and fully powered up. Like no one's beating my team, but
Women.
women. But here's the thing that scares me is that, like Geek is bringing up, Disney has a penchant for doing something. They dig up old IPs, they screw them up, and then push them out to the market. And because it's got that Disney stamp of approval, no matter what it is they throw against the wall, they are going to get the audience for it. Because the show media is going to be behind it. Everyone is going to be in the lines to see whatever crappy idea they throw against the wall just to make it stick.
Well, you know, we brought
And
up.
it's so painful. I mean, Geek in disguise. There will be Alien Nation again. They're going to have a whole female cast. There won't be males anymore.
Oh, I mean, they already exist. They were called the newcomers. It's going to be centrally focused on them.
Well, you brought up the X-Men earlier, and I'm just like, okay, well, you know, we were talking about how they're going to reintroduce them. Just like, well, how would they reintroduce them? Oh, it's like, oh, right, okay. So the first X-Men.
Go ahead.
I was about to say the first X-Men is probably going to be Dust.
Check this out. Guess who they're not going to go with when they launch X-Men?
What? Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's
going to be X-23. Watch.
Probably.
I'll tell you who they're going to lead with. They're going to lead with Iceman, because he got hypnotized in the comics and became gay. So
see, that doesn't make any sense to me. How does somebody get hypnotized into becoming that way?
I swear to God, look it up, Prime. I can't even.
I know, but you get hypnotized, and then you go back to the mansion, and Professor Xavier's like, "Oh, it seems you got hypnotized. Here, let me fix that." you know, like
this is where comics were going.
Like seriously, it's like Professor, I don't feel right, man. I keep looking at dudes' butts. Why do I keep looking at? Oh, you got hypnotized. Here, let me fix that. You know, like.
Dude, this went on for months. How crappy does that make the X-Men look? To your point, they have Charles Xavier, and you're telling me the man can't look into his eyes or whatever.
It's subconscious, or be like, oh, what the hell's wrong with this guy?
Cerebro didn't say, yo, bro, you got someone a little bit confused in your party. No one said anything for months, and then people got mad, so they turned the character back.
Yeah. I thought the only one who was supposed to be confused in the X-Men was Logan, because he doesn't know who the fuck he is.
It was just that sort of starts to bring me to the end of the straight. We're gonna leave off on gay Iceman. Let all the viewers soak that one in, but
yeah. You'll never look at Frosty the Snowman ever again when you put the nose on the bottom of the.
Strike galore. People, I'm sorry if tomorrow you sub to my channel and I no longer
demonetized.
Forget demonetized. You're gonna pull me down tomorrow. I put mad tags in this because I had it open. Now I'm gonna look at the stream and go.
You should rename this the Orange Carrot Stream.
I will. There you go. He got off on the crazy train. Hey, you know what, guys? Shout out to Odin, who's not here. Thank you, man. If you watch the end of the stream, I appreciate you coming on. And I'm gonna let everyone plug the channels really quick here, and then we're gonna get off the air and let people get back to their lives and not be traumatized by the gay Iceman. So. Prime.
I love what Shellback says in the chat. He's like, Bobby, you're gay.
I just read that.
With that, no, Prime. Plug your channel, man.
Yeah, welcome to my channel. Oh, wait, this isn't my channel.
everyone, this is what Prime does. I invite him as a guest, and he just like, you're gonna come tomorrow. I'm gonna be off the YouTube.
All right. Serious note. Serious note. Visit PrimeGeekCollectors.com. It's a pop culture news and collectible website. We do everything from high-end collectibles to your latest movie news. We have a Twitter page at Prime Geeks, and also Facebook at Prime Geek Collectors. If you join the forum, you know it's free. We have a slight disclaimer that we are underneath section 107 of 17 U.S. code. So if you're from Europe and you got a VPN, no Article 13 ban for you. So.
Nice. I like that little plug because I talked about that before. My man, my homeboy that I've been dying to get on here to have you finally plug your channel to my channel. Go ahead, dude.
Hey, everybody, the Geek here. Hang on, let me double check, make sure I am talking. Yes, okay. I thought I had mic'd or muted my mic. You guys come check out my channel. I'm gonna post a link. Just kind of a hodgepodge right now. Movie reviews, trailer reactions, movie news, TV show news. You know, just all around shenanigans, random streams. But yeah, you know, up and coming amateur YouTube content creator. Hopefully, getting my foot in the door.
Yeah, man. And upsetting me every day because I can't figure out. I got the technology. I still haven't figured out how to do a great trailer reaction. So
hey, man, if you need advice, just hit me up on a DM, and I'll gladly help you. I mean, I'm willing to teach as well as I'm learning, because. You know.
Oh yeah, and an extra plug for you, man. For anyone who doesn't know, the Geek has been coming here on my channel for a while, so please get his subs up because he's a great guy and he's done a lot of good things to both these guys. And make sure that you check them out in the chat and that you're subbing to them because that's what my channel is about. And speaking of which, it is the most electrifying YouTuber in YouTube entertainment, soon to be hit with a lawsuit by the great one. It is Lee Cole IV. And here on my channel, you get random wackiness like we had tonight. I do this panel. It's going to be an every Wednesday thing called Let's Talk, where we will have different guests come on and talk about a different topic every Wednesday night at around 7 o'clock, barring I'm not caught in epic snowstorms because this is Wisconsin.
No, it's Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. And also, I have a dual personality who I still have not been able to catch streaming on my channel, Soy Cole. He is the inclusive SJW personality. So he does a...
Oh, jeez. What is so with all these multiple personality people?
The new thing, man.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I first started it with Proper with the whole damn Jeremy clones, and now it's just like taking off a year later. Jesus.
So we have the soy side where if you're an SJW, I'm inclusive to you too, and we also have some reviews, some great up and coming stuff. I am pretty sure that Prime will tag along because he's become like my Proper, where he just jumps into my streams, and we will be doing the Aliens watch party, which I'm looking to do this Sunday, guys. I don't have a time for it yet because I just found out last minute that my job wants me to come in at 5:30. So I'm going to try to stream it during the day, which is suicide because everyone else is streaming at that time. So I'm going to try to get this together. I'm talking to Drunk C3PO. He wants to come on board for the watch party. And Chris Knight, Miss. And we'll see who else that we can get.
You have to get Mary back on.
I'm in negotiations with Mary right now. I might have to pay her a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
We might have to do a GoFundMe before it to raise money to get Mary to sit in on this.
I know, because we can't bribe her with a camera now because she just bought one.
Yeah, she swindled us. She's like, I'm gonna get ahead of this.
So,
dude, I feel so bad about that the other day. I swear, I think Mary thinks I'm like some perv now.
Oh, wait! Are you the one sending her the hamster pics?
No, like she did her first video with her new camera. and I was watching.
I was there. I was there. But
And-
what were you doing?
Well, her chin was like really close to getting cut off, so I was like tilt down a couple notches, and I was. And next thing I get a message like, "Oh no, like I don't do boobs," and I'm like, "Oh no, that's not where I was going with this, man. Like neckline, like you know, just." And now I think she's kind of curved. It's like I just. So I'm feeling awkward around her right now because I'm like, man, she really secretly.
Oh, don't be awkward. Just own it, dude. Seriously, you know how many people have jokingly talked with her with misogynistic attitudes? I mean, it's
But I'm not like that, man. And I'm like, mine was just pure innocent criticism. It's kind of a, you know, I don't want to see you go to talk and get excited and have your face disappear.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, that's why you got to talk to her nice, like I do. You just call her a majestic elf.
Yeah, I heard that comment. I was like, oh my God. And then we start going Lord of the Rings. But anyways, yeah. So if you guys are entertained by this, our random sidebars over here, we will have more. I will definitely have the Geek in Disguise and Prawn Geek back on here for maybe we'll just do a random who cares kind of a deal and just talk about random stuff because we could do that all day. But
yeah, exactly. We could talk about how Universal's fucked up.
Till like 5 in the morning, y'all got me wrecked. I was like, oh, I crawled into bed. I crawled right back out of bed at 6:30. I was like, oh my God, I'm dying.
Yeah. That's gotta stop.
My wife texted me the next day. Was like, "What time did you come to bed?" I was like, "You don't want to know." Oh, so like
I'm surprised she's not texting you like, "Who were you talking to last night at 5 in the morning?"
All right, so I'm gonna finish this wrap up. You rude white males.
Excuse me, but I am an NPC.
I am a Caucasian. Okay.
I am Bat Stark. You shall know me as Bat Stark, and you shall respect me.
I am a buttery Ritz, man. Get it right.
So
ain't no white Wonder Bread over here.
You guys get on my channel random wackiness. I do movie reviews. I do a lot of television shows, anime. I've been behind on both, but I will be bringing you that, and of course, I will be doing all of the latest movie breakdown. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you for joining this crazy live stream, and everybody take care of yourself and each other. Trademarked by Jerry Springer. Good night.